Hi everyone. So let's continue at the Aeon topic, quantum poetic, which is the final. I think this video gonna be the final video of this particular Aeon topic. I think we need to start from here. Perceiving an object as it changes required us to forget the minute different between two different moments. So let's see what this series holds. Start with the first paragraph of the series. We can see in Heisenberg's theory of how language works parallel with Fume's struggle. With Heisenberg, Bohr's poetic creation become the ideal example of an internal check on our knowledge. For the very perfection of Fume's memory and the intensity of his perspective ability turns out to be a hindrance to his ability to understand or to distinguish perception from recollections. Imagine Fumes as a physicist in his laboratory. He distinguishes every observation as sui generis, unrelated to anything else. His perfection of perception allows him to discern, in Bohr's word, not only every leaf of every tree is in every patch of forest, but every time he had perceived or imagined that leaf, give him a cloud chamber. And he distinguished not only each beads of condensations left by an errant electron, but the particle itself. And not only the particle, but each and every moment in the infinite sequence of moments that define its tragedy. So this passage is talking about seeing the fuse conditions from the eye of Heisenberg. What he trying to say that the way Bohr write down the condition of fumes in his poetry is the way that the same thing is completely different in the eye of science. So the title of this passage is Fumes conditions in Heisenberg's theory. So what we can take from this passage is with Heisenberg's Bohr's poetic creation become the ideal example of the internal check of our knowledge for every perfection of Fume's memory and intensity of his perspective ability turn out to be hindrance to his ability to understand or distinguish perception from recollections. So we can take the whole passage as it is because it is important. It is the main thing which this whole passage is trying to say. What we can other take is from this here is so in the lower part of this passage it's giving the example of above condition. So that's not we can take, but we can just relate. Let's moving toward the next passage. But of course he cannot do this. He cannot because the very nature of perceiving an object, a particle, as it changes over a time, require the perceivers to forget. Even so slightly, the minute difference between two different moments in a space-time. Without this minuscule blurring, this holding onto a moment of time so as to register itself infinitesimal alteration in the next moment. All fumes, this physicist would experience is an eternal now. A dog of 3:14 p.m. seems frontally never to own the name dog, never to be recognized, never to be observed at all. So this passage is saying that we cannot change what we experience, but we need to forget the minute difference as well. We can't, yeah, in our real life they can't memorize or recall each and every moment with them deeply deeply we can't just like we can just example like that what happened today from morning to the night, a very basic details we are not able to recognize in the very next day or after 1 week. We have to forget some useless things. We recall the important movement from our past, but not whatever happened each day means very basic details. So we need to forget the useless things, but we have to keep the mind the important things. What are the important events happen with us? So here in the case of the fumes, he is not able to forget that useless things. So there is not a particular title of this passage. We can just summarize this passage that the very nature of perceiving an object as a particle itself change over a time require perceiver to forget ever so slightly the minute difference between the two different moments in a space-time. That's the problem with the fumes, which he's not able to. That's why he's not able to understand the things in a general. So let's moving toward the next pieces. Like Bosch, as he stopped to imagine what the world must be like for someone who perceived perfectly, what Heisenberg's grasped was that to simultaneously observe a particle's positions and momentum with exactitude would require the observer's co-presence with the particles in a single instant of space-time, a requirement that contradicts the very possibility of observing anything at all, not because of some spooky quality of the world of fundamental material, but because the very nature of the observation is to synthesize at least two distinct moments in a space-time. As a great Freudian philosopher Immanuel Kant had put it more than 100 years earlier, any observation required distinguish the time in the succession of the impression of one another. Observation undermines perfect being in the present because observation injects space and the time into what is being observed. A particle captured in a singular moment of space-time is by definition unperceivable because, in Kant's word, as contained in one moment, no representation can ever be anything other than absolute unite. An infinite thin silver of space-time with no before, no after, hence nothing to be observed. So basically, in short, this passage is saying that to observe anything, we need to be in that present moment. We need to be present in that present moment. That time we don't need to think about what's happened in the past, what's gonna happen in future. But we need to be there at that time. So, the title of this passage is the theory of Immanuel Kant, or the theory of space-time. We can take both. It's on you, whatever you can take, but both are right. So what we can take that observe a particle's position and momentum with exactitude would require the observers co-present with the particles in a single instant space-time, a requirement that contradicts the very possibility of observing anything at all. So just saying that how these things, how all this passage is related to the fume stand, whenever the fume is observing anything, we can say that he is not in the present moment because he continuously thinking about what happened just a minute ago. He had to recall everything. So he's, or maybe we can say this. So let's see what this passage holds. The another one we can take from it from the Immanuel Kant. The time is the succession of the impression of one another, and the another one is this one. Observation undermines the perfect being in the present because observation injects space and time into what is being observed. And this whole line of given by the Kant as contained to one in a one moment to no representation can ever be anything other than the absolute unity. So let's moving. Oh, this passage is not longer, so we will finish it. Let's moving toward the next passage. Yeah. Kant thought it was vital to understand this fundamental limit on human knowledge in order to ensure that science not fall into error. Heisenberg believed the same, as he writes in his manuscript where science make a new discovery. Its sphere of validity appears to be pushed yet one more step into an impenetrable darkness that lies behind the ideas language is able to express. This feeling determines the direction of our thinking, but part of the essence of thinking is that the complex relationship it seeks to explore cannot be contained in words. So, what here the Kant is trying to say, and what the Heisenberg's taken from it, that the language plays a very vital role in uh, in our thinking process, which gives the chance to explore the words, explore the words, different kinds of words. So we can take from here is that language relationship with our thinking or with any discovery of science. The language relationship with the discovery of science. The title of this passage is. What we can take from here is that any discovery lies behind the idea of language. It's able to express what language we are able to express that describe whatever the discoveries happen. It's completely depends on how the discoverer represents in public so that they can understand what he's trying to say, what they discover. So language play a vital role in it. So let's moving toward the next passage. We need to be on the lookout for a barrier to our knowing, not one out there in the universe, but one we create when we impose our image of reality on the perpetually receding limit of our future discoveries. In Heisenberg's words again, the ability of humans being to understand it without limit about the ultimate thing we cannot speak. Or, to put it another way, by presuming to speak of ultimate things, we put restraint of our ability to understand. So this line of Heisenberg saying that we have ability to understand anything without its limit, and 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 we tell anything about anything with its ability to with the ability to understand. So that's all for this passage. There is no particular title needed for this passage, but we can take 2 points from here as a summary. That ability of human beings is to understand without a limit, and by presuming to speak to ultimate things, we put restraint of our ability to understand. So let's moving toward the next passage. In the same year that Heisenberg finished and circulated his manuscript among a small circle of friends to avoid the scrutiny of a regime that had leveled the brand of physics he was known for as a Jewish science and targeted him personally as a white Jew. Bosch published a curious essay in the magazine La Nation. The essay ostensibly reviewed the contribution made by the 17th century natural philosopher, co-founder of the Royal Society, John Wilkins, to the search to create a language that would not suffer from the deficiency and mutations that plague natural language. So this passage is saying that this publication of the books and means discovery and the AC by Heisenberg and the Bourge. So the title of this passage is publication of the work of Heisenberg and Bourge. So this is not a much thing we can take, but just some lines. That Heisenberg's published not, it just circulate his manuscripts among his small circle of friends, because he is known for the physics, he is known for the Jewish science, and the people target him personally as a white Jew. But the Bosch published his essay in the magazine of La Nation, which is co-founded by the Royal Society, John Wilkins. That's it. Let's moving toward the another passage. The essay's most famous sentence from its concluding paragraphs, in which Bose compared the redundancies and inconsistency he sees in Wilkins' rational language to a system of categorizations he claimed to have found in a certain Chinese encyclopedia entitled Celestial Emporium of Benevolent Knowledge, in which the animals are divided into A. Those that belong to the emperor. B. Embalmment 1. C. Those that are trained. D. Suckling pigs. E. Mermaids. F. Fabulous ones. G. Stray dogs. H. Those that are included in this classification. I. Those that trembles as if they were mad. J. Innumerable ones. K. Those drawn with a very fine camel's hair brush. L. Others. M. Those that have just broken a flower vase. N. Those that resemble flies from a distance. So here this passage is saying that what the Bourge mentioned in his last paragraph of his essay, which is about the language system in Wilkins, which is related, which he observed that there uses the same pattern which is used in Chinese encyclopedia. Like just categorize the animals in different categories. So what we can take what the title of this passage is Bohr's description about Bohr's last passage, Essay's last passage descriptions. No, not that. What Bohr's understand from Wilkins' rational language system. So that we can take that the title that they uses the system which categorize the things with different yeah, that's it. We can't take things, but just the title is there. Just summarize spaces, whatever Bohr's experienced, which concluded in his passage that he sees the comparison, the redundancies and inconsistency he sees in Wilkins' rational language or system of categorization. So let's move toward the next business. Michel Foucault memorably began his book The Order of Things, which is published in 1966, by recalling his reaction when first reading Bure's list. But whereas Foucault's reaction was astonishment, the alienating wonderment provoked by an entirely different, arbitrary and seemingly contradictory classification system. Bure's fictive encyclopedia is meant to undermine a confidence we tend to share with Wilkins, and one that his rational language is built on. So this passage is saying that the reaction of uh, Michel's by reading Bure's list, and after reading his list, he uh, he just published. He write a book which is called The Order of Things. After just going after reading Bure's works, how the language, how they categorize the things. So that's all for this. Let's moving toward the next series of passages. Let's see what the series was. I think this is the last series. A language designed to account for everything that exists founders on the shores of its own completeness. Let's see what this passage has for us. So here the first passage. Communication is slippery because the words in natural language are in Ferdinand de Saussure assessment unmotivated. Different words in different languages dissect the world in different ways, but a truly rational language would avoid such discomfort. The vicissitude of translations would forever be banished. Wilkins aimed at a system of classification, akin to the Linnean taxonomy, but which would apply to everything that can be expressed in language. Every letter in a word would be meaningful and add to its distinctness. Bose explained it. For example, D means element, Deb the first of the element, fire, Deba a portion of the element of fire or flame. So this passage is saying that how in language, how in communications, every word symbolizes a different meaning. Because because uh, because we are just in natural language, Whatever we communicate is a slippery, is in a way of slippery. So that's why he says that why the Wilkins language is different. What the Wilkins language? So he says that, uh, the title of this passage is What Wilkins language holds. Language system hold. What Wilkins language system hold. It's a system of a classification of a kind of Linnean taxonomy, but which would apply to everything that can be expressed in language. And every letter in a word would be a meaningful and added to it distinctness that we can take. So let's moving toward the next business, which is the second last one. But far from rational, perfect communicability, Wilkins' system devolved into a dumpster fire of contradiction, redundancies, and tautologies. It turned out that a language designed to account for everything that exists founders on the shoals of its own completeness. Wilkins doesn't aim to produce a work of comedy, but his lists are very bit as absurd as those of Celestial Emporium. The reason for this, however, has nothing to do with the choices Wilkins made. Any similar attempt, Bourge implies, would quickly rack up such inanities. For the very idea of a representational system that categorized being on a one-to-one level, like Locke's abundant hope or Fume's ridiculous numerical grade, import a false idea of reality, that it is out there, broken into bite-sized chunks, just waiting to be correspondence to. But Abuse goes on to write, obviously, there is no classification of the universe that is not arbitrary and conjectural. The reason is very simple. We do not know what the universe is. More than that, he continues, we must suspect that there is no universe in the organic, unifying sense inherent in the ambitious word. So this whole passage is saying about the beliefs of Wilkins. The title of this passage is Beliefs of Wilkins. So what we can take from here is what it has. Wilkins' system devolved into a dumpster fire of contradictions, redundancies, and tautologies. And his lists are very bit absurd as those of Celestial Emporium. A representational system that categorizes a being on a one-to-one level and here the example is given. So let's moving toward our last passage of this Aeon Essay. However, the universe is that organic, unifying sense is what underlay generation of presuppositions regarding the nature of space and time, the independence of reality from our measurements of it, the ability of science to know that reality down to its most intimate core. It was perceived such as universe, a universe in which a particle would have the decency to have both a position and momentum to be measured with perfect accuracy, the very hope and presumptions of science that Heisenberg's discovery demolished. So this paragraph is concluded with the what universe hold, what we think from the eyes of universe. So the title of this passage is Perception from Universe Point of View. Language perception from universe point of view. And what we can take from here is the first one is that in that organic unifying sense is what underlay generation of presuppositions regarding the nature of space and time, the independence of reality from our measurement of it. Particle would have the decency to have both a position and momentum to be measured with perfect accuracy, that very hope and presumption of science. So that's all for this Aeon essay. Hope you guys like it. Thank you for with me till the end. See you guys again with the new Aeon essays. As of now, bye. Have a great day.